Anyone in that business should be able to pick up that plan and know what's going on. And so if you don't have it, like me sitting in agency seat, like I don't know what's going on in all 60 of the accounts in the business. And so I lose track of things and then services suffer. But on the other side, risk of not having that plan is like, you're just not going to achieve your business goal. Like you're just not going to be able to accomplish the things you set out to accomplish.
Every B2B marketing team faces challenges when they have to do more with less. Should you build skills internally? Should you find a freelancer? Should you search for the right agency? This is Tech Qualified, a podcast for scrappy B2B marketing teams. In each episode, Justin Brown uncovers how marketing teams generate qualified opportunities with limited resources. Every episode helps you get one step closer to winning over your ideal customers.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Tech Qualified. I'm Justin Brown, and this show is brought to you by New North. New North specializes in working with B2B marketers who have to do more with less. When you partner with New North, you turn your small, scrappy marketing team into a growth engine. When we set out for any engagement with a new client, we make a 50 to 100 page research document, and then we make a 50 to 100 page strategy document. Then after we make those documents, we write a documented plan for every channel that we're going to be targeting, whether that's content or ABM or SEO or paid media or all of the above, which it is in many cases. We are doing content and ABM and paid and performance reporting. We make a 15 to 30 page plan for each of those channels that I mentioned if we're going after them, in addition to our research and strategy, which are 50 to 100 page documents. So you can do the math. This could have us in 45 days of working with a new client with 250 pages of written documentation. And sometimes it feels like a lot of legwork to do so much writing and documenting. But from our standpoint, if it isn't written out, if it isn't documented, you have a good chance of either failing in that channel or at a minimum, not being aligned on the approach and the goals of that channel. So today I brought on Joe Michalowski, who works in these documents every day. Joe is our head of accounts, works across over 40 B2B tech companies, helping set their strategy, write these plans, and explain to them why we need all of this documentation to be successful. Joe, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Excited to be here.
For sure. So let's just start there. So why, from your perspective, and I'll chime in too, because just for the audience to know, Joe worked as a client of ours and heard me talk about what we used to call our strategic action plan, which has evolved into many more documents since then. But it was always, hey, we need to go back and we need to make sure that we're on the same page, because Joe was serving as a client, I was serving as the agency. And so we could talk a little bit today about what that was like, 5-ish years ago when we started working together on these things and how it's really evolved. So Joe, from your perspective though, why is it crucial to have a written, detailed plan before executing any channel strategy?
Yeah, you mentioned it. I was a client before where I was running content by myself for a startup, and I had really no written plan for a long time. And I thought we accomplished good work, but there were definitely times where we probably just strayed from what I would have liked to do. And I didn't have anything to fall back on. There was nothing really guiding anyone in the background. So I would just say the same things over and over again. It was a lot of it's in my head, but it's not in anyone else's head. And so when your agency side now, so I'm working with clients and there might be 1 to 5 people on the other end. And then there's, 40 people on our team that might touch the account on any given month. And all of those people need to be aligned. It was one thing when I was just solely running content. It was like, okay, I'll do everything. Don't worry, everybody, I got it covered. But these plans are really important to keep everyone aligned. If you have that many people involved, you can't just have them going rogue and executing things. So alignment is the first one. There's a lot of implications that come with that and issues that come when you don't have that. But first and foremost, you have this many people involved. Something needs to be there, sort of grounding everybody in what we're doing.
Yeah. And that was actually going to be my next question. But before I get it, just of what the risks are that you run. But before I even get into that, I think that this episode today is something that can be used whether you're in-house or as an agency. And I've seen it in so many cases where we've actually really empowered in-house marketers because typically our clients have some form of in-house team, and some executive comes back after we've done something, right? We've gone out and we've run an ABM campaign, and the question is, hey, we actually wanted, some exec comes down and they're like, I don't understand why we're running the ABM campaign this way. We were actually supposed to be, going after enterprise level businesses, not SMBs. And we say, okay, interesting. We actually have this ABM plan that we wrote. In that ABM plan, it outlines everything from the target market that we're going to be going after, the specific types of accounts that we're going to be going after, actually all of the copy that we're going to have in our ads and in our emails. And we actually gave this to, and this is me as agency right now, like I gave this to our POC at the company, and she actually went up the ladder and said, hey, this is what we're going to be doing for the ABM campaign. They got the thumbs up on it from the executive team, and we went out and did it. And then afterward, the executive team comes back and says, well, I thought we were going to be doing something different. And it's like, whoa. Okay. So fair, totally fair. Let's make sure that we did that we didn't, and that's us and our point of contact at the client, that we didn't screw up. And so then we open up the channel. We open up the channel plan. In this case, this example, an ABM plan. We're like, I don't know. It's right here. It says we're going after SMB. This is going to be the size of account. This is going to be the account. This is maybe even like we put in there if they have a very targeted list, like this is the account list that we're going after. And Mr. or Miss Executive, we gave this to you in advance, and you said we're good to go. Now you may not have reviewed it, and that is respectfully on you, but we did lay it all out. It's in writing, and it got approved by the powers that be. So not only us as an agency, we are protected having done the work that we said we were going to do, which is one of our core values as a business, is that we do what we say we're going to do. But also our POC is heavily empowered, and why I would encourage plans to be written by in-house marketers as well. So because people have very short memories, what we don't understand is sometimes like an executives will have a meeting, and this ABM plan may have been written 2 months before this executive comes back and says we did it wrong. And in those 2 months, the executives have all gotten into meetings and decided we're no longer going after SMBs. And that never made its way to the mid-tier marketers. Maybe it's conversations being had with the CMO and the CEO. And then at the end of the, and this is 2 months in the making. And then when they go and they look at the ABM campaign, they're like, I thought we had determined as a business we weren't going after SMB. So it really gives you the ability to say, no, I know you may think that. It never made its way to me. I was not in that meeting. I have no idea that meeting even took place, but you did approve this document. And I know that that's like a way to cover your ass in a way, but it's very important. And it's the only way you could push forward. Otherwise, you're always going to be chasing your tail, and you're never going to be able to stand behind the work that you do, because someone could always say it's wrong if they don't have something to point to. Then it's just what you said versus what someone else said. And then you're like pulling call recordings, and nobody wants to do that. And it's like, hey, in this call recording, I told you, versus having a well-documented 20 to 30 page plan that you can point to and you can say, no, we wrote this all out and it was on your desk. You said this is good to go. That is very difficult for someone to say that you didn't do the right thing. And I like to be able to stand behind my work and be able to point to something and say, we all agreed on this. Sorry. So I don't know. That's my perspective. I know you've seen me for years push into it. It's like, hey, we got to make a change to this. I'm like, cool, we got to update the plan. Yeah. Okay, can you just make the change? No.
Well, that's a good, so like the issue that I run into with clients a lot is like the plan, having the documented and approved plan does not mean nothing changes ever. Like your business can change its entire target market. It's like, I got to go reflect it. It doesn't mean like we did it wrong. It's usually if things aren't working out, I mean, I'd like to say every single thing that we ever come up with will work, but like, that's just not how marketing or business works. Like you do things because you think they're going to work, you see how they're going, and then you change direction as needed. And so I think it's important to say, like, we come up with the plan based on what we're all agreeing to, and then also have a plan in the plan to monitor how that's going and like decide what to do based on what we're finding. I think it's a misconception that like, oh, well, I have my marketing strategy, so I'm good for the next like 3-4 years. We're all set. It's like, no, I think it change like every few weeks, and it's just hard to get like locked in. You have clients or points of contact that get really locked in on that, and it just causes problems. So, yeah, I'm right there with you.
Yeah. What is your approach or our approach or philosophy on updating these kinds of plans over time, especially as campaigns evolve?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on which document you're talking about. So, you mentioned research at the top. It's like, I don't know, I'm not going to go back that often or ever maybe and update research, because I do that, like, at least from like our agency's perspective. It's like baseline for everybody in our company to know what this industry is about, like, so that everybody is on the same page. But I don't need to go like research the industry and get that information. A strategy doc, kind of the overarching thing, we do it every quarter. That is important to us as a business, like philosophically, that marketing initiatives change, priorities change, business priorities change. And so every quarter we revisit. But when you're talking about like a content plan or like an ABM, like a specific channel plan, I mean, think about like paid, we'll use paid as an example, just Google ads. I've been at companies that you have people that are responsible for $30, $40, $50,000 in paid ads, and they're changing keyword strategies every other day. And so like in those cases, you might go in every week or two and just make sure that the things you're doing reflect what's actually in the plan, so that you don't come in, to your point, 2 months later and say, oh, well, we changed these 16 things and now our plan just does, it's completely different now. And it's not about making a new plan. It's just making sure everything is reflected consistent. I'm not saying it to update like in real time. It's not like every 5 seconds you're opening that plan. It's like, oh no, we changed the word in like a few words in our email. Like, got to make sure that our plan is updated. But the spirit of that plan should be carried through regardless of what happens. And I think it's just frequency on like a tactical, like channel level. You're probably updating it regularly based on what you're learning. Strategy quarterly, and anything above that, it's like maybe the business has annual plans like for its numbers, and you're like, okay, I got to map toward that, but those don't change really month to month or quarter to quarter. So I think there's like a hierarchy there.
Yeah, for sure. And some of them I think you need to be a little bit more, make changes as changes happen. Like I think content, we call them, content plans, used to be what we called our strategic action plans, or very specific, like shows only. And, for if design changes, 3 people might look at something and say, well, I don't think the design was supposed to be this, or I don't think the design was supposed to be that. When you have the original design in a plan and you can go back and look and be like, hey, this was the approved design. And if that design needs to change, then I do want to update my plan with the new design, because the next time that someone says, it's funny, the things that we hear, the episode number needs to be in the bottom left instead of the top right. It sounds silly,
Sure.
but at the same time, you need to be able to go and look at the original design and say, no, well, we had the episode number in the bottom left, and that's what was approved. So it's not wrong, but I'm happy to change it. And you can have 3-4 different people with different opinions as to what it should be. And, Susie says, well, I remember I said in a meeting that we wanted it bottom left and not top right. And then Jim says top right, not bottom right. And, you have all these different people saying different things. When you have these plans that are written, it gives you the ability to bring everyone together and say, this was written, it was approved, everybody had their chance to speak up. We are not saying we can't change, but we do have the ability to say, this is what it was supposed to be. And as long as that was the output, it protects everybody. Everybody can say, okay, cool. Like that was, hey, we did say SMBs is what we were going after. That's right. I remember that now. I forgot. I've been in meetings where we're talking about going after enterprise and forget that this was rolled out 2 months ago. it really does have the opportunity to bring the team together to say, hey, we did work on this, and this is where we were supposed to land. So cool, you all are doing, again, like my favorite core value that we have, like you all are doing what you said you were going to do. You're right. And that's, again, that executive, more to our points of contact, who we're really protecting in these situations many times, because ideas change. And that leads me to my next question, which I know I said I was going to get to like 10 minutes ago already, but what are the risks of moving forward without a comprehensive plan in place for a channel, Joe?
Depends on who you ask. If you ask agency me, risk is, the cover your ass thing before is like, as somebody like running client services, we have 40, 50, 60 accounts, and like, I'm not on every call all the time. I need to be able to step in and know what's going on. So like internally, like whether you're working with us or working with any other agency, it's like, as a client, your way to hold the agency accountable. So like anyone in that business should be able to pick up that plan and know what's going on. And so if you don't have it, like me sitting in agency seat, like I don't know what's going on in all 60 of the accounts in the business. And so I lose track of things, and then services suffer. But on the other side, risk of not having that plan is like, you're just not going to achieve your business goal. Like you're just not going to be able to accomplish the things you set out to accomplish. So if you're a marketing manager who has numbers to hit for the CEO says, I need more leads, go get them. And you agree with your agency, hey, the best way to do that is paid, and you don't have a plan for it, like we're just flying blind. Like, who are we targeting? What's our budget? Like, I don't know, you might blow. Very real risk of just saying, we hadn't agreed to a budget, we put the credit card in, sorry, I spent 10,000, I was supposed to spend 4. And like, it's not there. So I mean, there's financial risks, there's risk of just wasting your time, like doing marketing for the sake of
that's where
marketing.
That's where I was gonna go. You mentioned goals, and like I lean right into what we've seen a million times, which is when we have had many clients who have come on over the years who are like, I'm ready to start. We needed X, Y, and Z 2 months ago. So I know you want to go do your plans, Justin. You want to go do your cute little plans for every channel that we're going to go after. But I need you to do these 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 different things before we get started on the plans. And we're like, okay, we can. And then we wind up, which is where we don't ever want our clients to be. And because it's just not philosophically what we believe as an agency. We really believe in marketing that is, really intertwined across functions, whether that is, sales enablement materials for sales, creating content that's going to fuel SEO and ABM campaigns, and, ABM campaigns that are then fueling our paid efforts. All of this stuff, we believe in it all working together. And that's really how you have a successful B2B company on the marketing side. And we find that what we don't want our clients doing is being so narrowly focused on like tactical execution only. And when we don't have a plan in place and we're sent down this like, hey, we need you to do this and update that. I remember we had a client who needed us to, they signed on, let's just give an arbitrary date, but I'm pretty sure I'm like pretty close to it. Like September 25th.
Justin remembers this vividly.
Yeah, they signed on like September 25th. And of years past, and they had their e-commerce company, and they wanted to do a Halloween paid promotion, and it was like your whole research strategy we need to put on hold, and we need and a paid media plan we need to put on hold, and a content plan we need to put on hold, and we need to go after this like paid for over the next 3 weeks. And I was like, don't typically operate this way. We do try to make sure that we have everything documented, from goals to so on and so forth. And that campaign we rolled out, and then it became adjustments of that campaign and new landing pages for that campaign. And then that Halloween campaign, this is all a true story, that Halloween campaign then became a Cyber Monday I'm bad at shopping. What is Black?
Which one?
Yeah,
Black
Cyber
Friday,
Monday.
Cyber Monday?
Yeah, Cyber Monday.
Moved all the way into the Thanksgiving time frame.
Yeah. So we kept adjusting, wound up. We did the Halloween plan, then we did the Halloween promotion, and then it moved into a Cyber Monday promotion, and we never got back on track. And I can tell you that when December rolled around and we were moving into the new year, I still did not have a handle on what their company goals were and what we were trying to achieve out of these efforts. And it led to a breakup between our agency and that organization, because I then had to say, we need to put our foot down and we need to put a line in the sand that says we need to know what the goals are and what we're even striving for here, because every day I feel like I would roll out of bed and I've already got 5 different messages saying we need to do this and we need to do that and we need to do this and we need to do that. And I didn't even know what I was striving for and striving to accomplish. And so, and that all is the result of not having a plan to point to. I didn't have something that I could say, this is what we're trying to achieve with paid. It was, marketers and Joe and anyone listening to this right now is going to laugh. But it was just like, we need leads. And I'm like, great. Who doesn't? But like, how many? What are we trying to convert? How many people are we trying to convert down the funnel? And then, it just becomes very awkward. And it's like, well, you've been working for 3 months. I'm like, well, yes, but we didn't do it the way I would have preferred. I tried to do you a solid because you asked me to move quickly. But that is really, from my perspective, some of the risk of not having that comprehensive plan in place before starting work. Is like, when then do you stop? Like, when do you say, okay, we'll do a little bit of work before the plan, but then you're moving. And then it's like, we'll just keep doing this and keep doing this. And all of this to me is applicable whether you are an in-house marketer or an agency marketer, or you work at New North or any of the marketers and demand companies, or you work in-house a software company. I feel like if you are not documenting what it is that you're going to go out and do, the ability for you to basically, like a math equation, show your work when it's all said and done is going to be incredibly challenging. So that was one. And then another one that you mentioned, Joe, and I got more questions for you, but another one you mentioned is just your ability to jump into accounts. I've worked at a handful of agencies at this point in my career, and this is very true whether it's in-house again or at an agency. Plans protect you against people leaving. So if some people are not, I know we all would like to think wherever we're currently working, we're going to retire there and all make a bunch of money together and it's going to be great and rainbows and fairy tales. The likelihood of that, odds say otherwise, right? People stay in the same job on average, probably less now. This is data from years ago, like 2 years or less. When they leave, if it is not documented, they take all that information with them. It's in their heads. And one of the things that we really try to prevent against is that if a strategist on an account were to leave, that it would have a negative implication on our client. So we're making sure to really document everything that we're doing so that whether it's Joe jumping in as the head of the department to go and look at what, we're doing on this account, and he can crack open a 15 to 30 page ABM plan and go look at it and say, okay, cool. Like, this is what we're doing. And now I'm up to speed. Instead of very traditional agency style is like, all right, let's do an hour meeting. You're going to tell me about what we're doing. And we really don't want to have that kind of risk for our clients where if somebody were to leave, they take all that information with them. So that was another one that you brought up, Joe. So, I don't know if you have anything to expand on there. I think that there are lots of risks, though, for not having these plans in place.
Yeah, I would just add, we have a lot of reasons for us as the agency. I just want to stress the importance for the client. Like, you as the client want this. Like, this is, and one thing I say a lot, I have a content background, so I say it for content, but it's true for every plan, whether it's paid or ABM or anything, is you don't want me to just go run and make you some blog posts about cybersecurity. I don't know, maybe in I did that. My first job was just running out and I read the first 15 things I could find on Google and I listened to a podcast and I was like, here's a blog post for the website. And it's just not, it's 2024. We've come a long way. There's a higher expectation of what content is. That's true for every channel. And so like, if I don't do the work in this plan to say like, who are we talking to? What are the messages? Like, who am I talking to get those messages? Like, if those things aren't done up front, it doesn't matter if I get the job done. Like, it's probably just going to be bad. Like, you just don't want me to run ahead and do it. And I don't really think there is an agent unless the agency is like, we have all of the cybersecurity experts in-house for you. And they also happen to be marketers. And we only work with cybersecurity companies at this size because that's what our 7 experts do. It just doesn't exist. Like, you're going to hire an agency and there's going to be marketers who work at that agency. And the good ones will go find the right sources for the things. And it needs to go in that plan. But if I don't have one, it means I didn't do that work. And the work is probably going to suffer because of it. So.
Yeah. Otherwise, you're just writing emails or writing ad copy or, posting blog posts, but the actual impact is going to be significantly limited, which great segue, Joe. My next question is just what do we put or what do we suggest people put into a plan?
Yeah, there's one thing first, regardless of what plan you're doing, because I think there's like a hierarchy to what this is. There's the overarching strategy, there's the different channels, but your customer has to be in there. Like, who are we talking to? Who are these people specifically? Not like fluffy, fake persona, like Susie salesperson in the industry is between these ages. It's like, no, like a real person who has maybe bought the software or has like been in the fund. It's like the people we want to target that are just like this person. What are the things that keep them up at night? What do they care about? What messages relate to them? What products relate to them? I need information about what we're selling, who we're selling it to, first and foremost. I don't care if you're doing content, strategy, ABM, paid, like that is the thing that needs to be in there. I think the 2 other things that are like non-negotiables regardless of channel are goals. So like documented, like what is the thing we are accomplishing for this time frame with this channel, not just we're going to do stuff. And then also like metrics, like how are we tracking that? Like what is the plan to keep track of it? I think those 3 things, and like, again, like depending on if you ask me a specific one more, but customer goals, metrics for tracking, or like how we're going to report. And I'll add one more for agencies. It's like, who's responsible for what? Like, it's, if you're internal and you're all by yourself, like, cool. Like, guess what? You're responsible for everything. But an agency, like I also have to document, we're going to take care of this and you're going to take care of this. And this is what happens when I deliver this and that stuff. So that's the agency specific, but those 4 things plus a billion other things, depending on which channel you're talking about.
Yeah. And it's funny I have really no notes on this other than just a quick story, but the ICP thing or who we're reaching out to, it's so funny. So I do like all of our discovery calls for potential new clients. So I talk to a lot of marketers out there, and I bring Tristan, who is my business partner, one of the co-founders of Marketers in Demand, my co-owner of New North. And I bring him onto a lot of sales calls with me. And he's a very technical guy. He builds our marketing architectures. He's crafting our ROI calculator, which we're probably going to use that term. It's something completely different, but loves to roll his sleeves up, get his hands dirty in the very technical components of marketing, building websites. He's been doing this kind of stuff for years. And so, I bring him onto the calls to be like my technical support. And I'm there trying to do my best, like asking detailed questions about, what kind of metrics people want to track and how they are now and where leads are coming from and all these things, right? And I usually go for about the first 15 to 20 minutes of the call asking questions. And Tristan, if I need to call on him, I do. And if I don't, kind of hangs out there for a while. But I usually kick it to him around that like 15 to 20 minute mark. And I'm like, hey, Tristan, do you have any questions? And it catches me off guard like every time, because his question always, not always, probably like 90% of the time is, I want to take a big step back here. Who do you guys sell to? And I'm like, oh yeah, I really haven't even asked.
Skip that part.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause I'm like, so like even myself who believes so heavily in everything that we're talking about, from building out plans and really understanding what you're trying to do before going to do it. Even I find myself getting too much in the weeds sometimes and like focused on the next pieces that you said, which are metrics and goals, which is really, from an agency perspective, how you justify your existence, from an in-house perspective, how you justify your existence. So I sometimes focus very heavily there. And I think that the best marketers have the ability to take a step back and be like, okay, all that stuff is great, but who are we talking to? Who are these messages like that we're trying to get in front of people? These ads that we're writing, why are these people going to care about it? This content that we're creating, why are they going to care about it? How is it going to help them? How is it going to make a difference in their day-to-day life? Why are they going to click this and engage with it? I think is the first and foremost thing. We were just having a conversation about a client who is, finally willing to narrow down a bit after a while of saying, we'll sell to anybody. And we're like, for years, if you're speaking to everyone, you're speaking to no one. And really understanding who you're speaking to just has a tremendous impact on these campaigns, because you have the ability, like we mentioned at the very start, when someone comes and says, I thought we were talking to enterprise. We're like, nope, it's right here. SMBs, you saw this document. The time to speak was then. I guess this wasn't that campaign. Happy to do one for the enterprise as well. But yeah, I mean, that pretty much takes us up on time here today, Joe. Do you have any other pieces of advice for writing plans, how to craft them, what should be in them before I let you go?
One more thing I thought of while you were talking about that. You were talking about taking a step back. I was going to say, your plans, what we do is like they're not presentations, like they are documents. And so part of that document is what is this plan? So even take a step back from the step back we took on customers, and it's like, how are we defining an ABM plan? Everyone says ABM. What does that actually mean? If you're going to go deliver it to a CEO, like you can say like SEO, PPC, ABM, like there's 1,000 acronyms in marketing. So I would say just make your plans appropriate for all levels. Put the information in there of like, what is this? What's it supposed to accomplish? Why are we doing it? And then yeah, you can get into the customers and stuff. But anyway, I thought of that. That was my step back thought as you were going through it. So
no, it's great. And yeah, I mean, I want to make sure that we're not conflating language here. When Joe and I say plan, I mean, we are talking about a written document. With us, we're an agency, things need to look really nice. So, everything's branded and usually in Google Slides and, put together really well. But for the scrappy marketer out there, it doesn't need to be that, but it does need to be written. I mean, you have got to write this out and have the ability, when it is said and done, to say, this is who, those three things that you said. This is who we said we're going to reach out to, whether it's creating content for these people, whether it is doing specific outreach, like writing emails and running ABM campaigns and putting out advertising. But this is who we're reaching. This is who we are targeting. This is what we had hoped as our outcomes or our goals. And this is the way that we are going to track them. And all of that needs to be written and be able to be consumed by someone who is not in marketing, who can say, thumbs up or thumbs down, those things happened. Did we actually target these people? Did we actually go out and perform these activities? And then what were the results? But it's not like I have a plan. It's like, this is the plan. You can go look at it. You can read it. And so everybody can get on the same page. Well, Joe, thanks so much for joining me today. It was great having you on Tech Qualified, and we'll be back soon.
Thanks, man. Talk soon.
Thanks for checking out Tech Qualified. This show is brought to you by New North, a marketing agency that helps turn your small, scrappy marketing team into a growth engine. To find out more about New North or check out more episodes of this show, go to newnorth.com/techqualified.